Shavua Tov, everybody. Long time no see. Really, Bruchim Habayim, thank you so much for coming out. First and foremost, we really have a lot of Hakarat HaTov to the people that helped put this together. It does not as seamlessly as it looks like it comes together. It takes a lot of effort. I want to also thank, of course, the sponsors. I want to thank Chazaq for their participation in facilitating with Rav Shafier, and also the sponsors. This is Leilun Nishmat Binyamin Tanel Ben Bracha Tova, Lachat Mishpacha David Alishayev. I want to thank the Bangiev Mishpacha as well as the family of Yafim Chaim Shuf. Thank you very, very much. We had a little hand in this also, to thank my Rebbitzin. I'm going to be brief. We're here to hear Rabbi Shafier. I want to say one remark regarding what we're all here for, which your presence shows how much you invest in the idea of Shalom Bayit. You understand it already. And if you haven't heard this statement that I'm about to make now already, then maybe it'll just underscore what we're all really feeling already. The importance of Shalom Bayit in our lives. We all live by the rulings of the Arizal. Most of those teachings came to us through a student, Rabbeinu Chaim Vital. Rabbeinu Chaim Vital says something shocking, maybe even alarming. He says that an individual's midot, an individual's character, is judged in Shamayim by the way in which he interacts with his wife. And Rav Volbi Zatzal, he says, a person can be a Baal Chesed, a person can do Chesed, give tzedakah, contribute towards the community in so many ways. And he probably thinks in the back of his mind after 120 years, I'm okay. But Rav Chaim Vital is telling us that the measure, the measuring stick, the yardstick by which we will be judged is the relationship, the manner in which we related to our spouses. Just a thought, as we all lean in, Bezrat Hashem, to hear Rabbi Shafier. As I mentioned, we all understand the importance of this, that's why you're here. Perhaps one thing I can contribute just from a personal note is, if you're not yet familiar with Rabbi Shafier, who is at this point a global phenomenon, Bli Ayin Hara, I can't thank my lucky stars. I grew up in a small upstate New York town, and Rabbi Shafier was living there amongst many other talented people that influenced my life in amazing ways. And I could actually therefore say that I have observed Rabbi Shafier from when I was a child. And for what it's worth, before you stands an individual who is the utmost of sincerity. He has dedicated his life to uplifting Klal Yisrael. Initially, when Rabbi Shafier was in Rochester, when I was growing up as a child, he was a high school Rebbe. And the students that he literally influenced for a lifetime from that high school sheer room. And he could have had a very, very successful career as a Rebbe going forward. But Rabbi Shafier's reach has, at some point, just started to reach beyond the classroom. I've been at a wedding when the Chatan called up Rabbi Shafier to get a bracha under the chuppah, and the person announced Rabbi Shafier as a Rebbe of the Chatan. The Chatan never met Rabbi Shafier. In what way is he a Rebbe of the Chatan? Because at some point in Rabbi Shafier's career, if you will, he began to record what's known as the shmooze. You've surely seen the bumper stickers. You've surely encountered the books. He took the concept of a shmooze in his own inimitable way, and he brought the beautiful messages of Torah in an accessible way to the globe. And as if that wasn't enough, at some point it seems like Rabbi Shafier has really specialized into this area of Shalom Bayit in a way that is remarkable. I don't know of another forum in which this is being addressed in this way. People can participate in online classes, literally one-on-one guidance to Rabbi Shafier. His phenomenal experience, phenomenal sincerity. I don't want to, Chas v'Shalom, be mevayesh, but I have stood next to Rabbi Shafier for slichot as a student.
Remember, I get the rebuttal. I speak after you, so.
Then I should stop now. I stood next to Rabbi Shafier for slichot in yeshiva. And I could just tell you that it's an experience that I recall to this day. So we are seeing somebody who is Talmid Chacham, who is speaking to us from sincerity. This is not coming because of a career. A Talmid Chacham, all sources are Torah based and yet integrated with the right stories, the right science, the right research that makes it perhaps a little bit more understandable and accessible to us. So really, without taking any more of your time and without any further ado, I would like to have the privilege of introducing Rabbi Benzion Shafier. Shalita.
Thank you. All right, so I know Rabbi Benzion from 100 years ago when he was yay high on the. It gives me such nachas to see him in this position now, and you have in front of you a tremendous, tremendous person. Folks, make use of him. He is a tremendous, tremendous individual. How old are you?
Welcome back.
Thank you. Really, he's a unique person and a beautiful, I don't have to tell you his midot, but his learning, understanding, okay, tremendous, tremendous person, and thank you for that intro, and it really is a pleasure. I really say that, it really is a pleasure. Okay, so here's what we're going to do this evening. We're going to discuss some of the 10 really dumb mistakes that very smart couples make. You see a book in front of you. Hopefully, if you were amongst the first 30, you got a copy of it that you got for free. If not, you can pick up a copy if you didn't get one. But what I'm going to do is just some of them. You're still going to have to read the book. You're not getting off the hook that easy. But I'm going to go through some of the 10 really dumb mistakes that very smart couples make. And hopefully we'll get a certain understanding of marriage and how to apply it. Okay, so let's begin. In 1901, the divorce rate in the United States was about 6%. Currently, the divorce rate in the United States is about 50%. And here's a key question. What changed? What happened that marriages generally used to succeed and now they don't? Now again, in the frum community, it's nowhere near that kind of number, but certainly in the secular world, the idea of a marriage for life is almost unheard of. So the question is, what changed? So I believe there are 4 reasons why marriage used to succeed but no longer does. The first reason is because we live in a world where everything is disposable. Disposable cups, disposable blankets, disposable cutlery, and so too is marriage. I was sitting with my wife in a restaurant in Manhattan, which means the tables were a little bit too close one to the other, and we overheard 2 fellas in the table next to us saying like this. One guy said, I got married way too late. I should have got married much younger. That way I could have gotten my first marriage over at an earlier age. I could have gotten my second marriage when I was younger. The problem was neither fellow was laughing. And the idea of a start of marriage seems to be an acceptance, and it really is a very sad reality. So the first reason why marriages used to succeed and they no longer do is because marriage is now considered disposable. The second reason why marriage used to succeed and no longer does is because everyone today listens to a very important radio station. It's called WIIFM. WIIFM is not a radio station. It stands for What's in It For Me. What's in it for me? What do I gain? What is my benefit? And the truth is, it's been that way since you're a little child. And the first thing your parents ask, what's the best school for you? What are the best friends for you? What's the best situation for you? What's the best camp for you? Maybe you went to seminary. Everything was about you, and then you get married. And suddenly it's a we. And suddenly there's another human being who's equally important, whose needs are equally significant, and the ability to stretch and learn to take another person into account isn't so simple. That's the second reason. The third reason why marriages used to succeed and they no longer do is because unfortunately there are so many unwholesome and emotionally fragile people. Now, marriage is an institution, but folks, it's not a hospital. And marriage will not cure any of the normal problems. It won't cure depression, OCD, anxiety, low self-esteem, poor self-image. Marriage will not cure that. Many people think it does. And they get married with the assumption, I have an issue, I have a problem, I'll get married and everything will be wonderful. So I'd like to share with you, marriage will cure only one single thing. And that's called being single. But other than that, it's not going to cure anything. Now these 3 problems we're not going to change. These are societal problems. These are major issues in life. We're not going to change it. But I believe there's a 4th reason that we can really affect in a very real reason. The 4th reason why marriages used to succeed and no longer do is something we can impact. Let me share with you what that is. I have now at this stage counseled literally hundreds and hundreds of couples, at this point probably in the 1,000 or above. And on a regular basis, I'll meet with a couple, they'll be in my office, and when they leave, I say to my wife the following: they're a match made in heaven, living in Gehenna. You see, it's not like Hashem used to be very good at this thing called matchmaking, and Hashem lost his touch. It's that people no longer understand how to be married. They don't understand the relationship. They don't understand what's needed. And I'd like to share with you a statistic that I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I believe it's true. 80% of the Gittin that are written today should not be written. Again, it's not like Hashem used to be very good at matching things and no longer is. It's that people don't understand what marriage requires. They don't understand what a successful marriage needs. And therefore, it's really a lack of understanding. And that's what we're going to focus on this evening. We're going to try to get at least a little bit of an introduction. Can we turn the lights down a little bit so we can see the screen a little better? Half the lights down, maybe? If you could do that without tripping, that'd be amazing. Well, look at that, Vivaldi.
This one, turn the other one up.
It's like a movie theater. It's great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, come on. Isn't that great? Yeah. Oh, popcorn in
Is
there?
this okay? What the
It's
popcorn?
okay, yeah. Oh no, I can see the men. I can't see the women. I don't know if that's good. We'll find out. We'll find out. Sometimes I'm popular on this side. Sometimes not. We're gonna find out. Rabbi, if you get back over there without tripping, that'd be amazing. You're really a talent. Okay. So let us begin. Let us start with some of the 10 really dumb mistakes that very smart couples make. And let's begin with the following. Parshas Vayera opens up where Avram Avinu opens his eyes, he looks up, and he sees on the horizon 3 wayfarers, 3 wanderers. To his knowledge, they're just Arabs walking the desert. He runs out to greet them, bows down, full face in the sand, says, Al na tavar me'al Adonai, please do not pass. He welcomes them in, he stands over them, he prepares food, he prepares beverage, and he stands over them like a waiter. At a certain point, one of the malachim say to Avram, Ayeh Sarah Ishtecha, where is Sarah your wife? Avram answers, Vinehi ba'oel, she is in the tent. Now, at this point, Rashi makes an important observation. Malachei Asharis hayu. These were the highest level of malachim. Yodim hayu, they knew exactly where Sarah Mina was. Why did they ask that question? Because he was going to respond, she's in the ohel, she's in the tent. By saying that, it would make her more beloved in his eyes. It would stress the fact that she's a tznuah, she's a modest woman, she's not out there in the public eye. By asking the question, where is your wife? He would respond, Hinehi ba'ol, she's in the tent. It would emphasize to him her modesty. It would make her more beloved in his eyes. Okay, now I'd like to ask a very obvious question. The man welcomes you in. He prepares food, he prepares beverage, he stands over you like a waiter, and you start asking about his wife. That sounds a little bit rude. It doesn't sound like a nice question at all. In fact, it sounds very inappropriate. Why did the Malachim ask this question? And if you don't appreciate why this is a very good question, I'll share with you one important observation. What is the single biggest obstacle to a successful marriage? Let's put that out as a question. What is the single biggest obstacle to a successful marriage? Anyone? Yeah, at least someone knows. I have 7-year-olds also who are 7-year-old grandkids who know every answer. They watch the video book and they know every single one of them down pat. I have 3 of them. They sit there on the couch and anyway. If you ask me, the single biggest obstacle to a successful marriage is when I'm self-centered. When the world ends and begins in my Dalet Amos, my 4 cubics, when I'm the center of the earth, I am a difficult person to be married to. Here's the problem. We're dealing with 2 of the most other-centered people you could imagine. Avram Avinu, the paradigm of Chesed. Sarah Imenu, his equal. 2 tremendous tzaddikim, so dedicated one to the other. The Maral says, in the course of history, there was never a bond between husband and wife as there was between Avram and Sarah. So here's the question. Why did the Malachim feel they had to ask this question, which might even be rude, overstep their bounds, to make her more beloved in his eyes? They had the near-perfect marriage. What was the issue? And if this question doesn't trouble you, let's follow the storyline a little bit. Sarah Imenu is on the other side. She's in the ohel, and she overhears the conversation. And one of the Malachim saying, next year, this time, your wife will have a child. But Tischak Sarah Bekirba, Sarah laughs inside, saying, how could this be? Vadoni Zokin, my husband is too old. It can't happen. My husband is too old to have children. At which point, shortly thereafter, Hashem says to Avram, Lama sachaka Sarah? Why did Sarah laugh, saying that she's too old? And that's not what Sarah said. What Sarah said was, my husband is too old, Adoni Zakin, and yet Hashem changed it, and Hashem said, why did Sarah laugh, saying, Vani, I, Sarah, am too old? So Rashi picks up on the fact that there's a contradiction here, and Rashi explains, Shino HaKasav, Hashem changed. Excuse my expression, Hashem lied. Why? Mipnei Shalom. The halacha is, you're allowed to lie Mipnei Shalom, and for that reason Hashem changed the truth. Hashem didn't want Avram Avinu to hear that Sarah said he's too old, so Hashem changed the story saying that Sarah said that she's too old. I heard my Rebbe, the Shuvah Zatzal, ask a very significant question on this Rashi. When are you allowed to lie for Shalom? If there's going to be a major machlokas, there's going to be a major fight, there's going to be something that really causes tremendous strife on very unusual, very unique circumstances, you're allowed to lie. Let's assume for a minute that Avram Avinu heard that Sarah said that he's too old to have children. What do you think would have happened? Hey, Sarah called me an old man. I don't think he would have even noticed it. I don't even think he would have registered. Avram Avinu was at the prime of his greatness. Every year in Avram Avinu's life was another tremendous accomplishment. By the way, he has another 75 years to go. At this point in his life, he's one of the wealthiest men alive, one of the most powerful men alive, and every single year of his life was a tremendous gain, tremendous accomplishments. I don't think he was embarrassed about the fact that he was old. What would have happened had Avram heard that Sarah said he's too old? He would have gone to pieces. The Shuvah Zatzal asked, what was the reason why Hashem had to lie? So these two questions. Why did the Malachim feel that they had to ask this question to make her more beloved in his eyes? Question one. And question two is, why did Hashem have to change? What was the issue? Okay, now, to try to answer these questions, let me start with a very important question I want to ask you, and I'm asking for an answer over here. What is the leading cause of divorce today? Leading cause of divorce. Anyone? Marriage is the leading cause of divorce. Yes, 100% true. Not a single person has ever been divorced. That's correct. Well, at least currently. But other than marriage, what is the single biggest leading cause of divorce? Anyone want to offer?
Social media.
Okay. Lack of money. Okay, money. How about children, money, religion, in-laws, right? A lot of reasons, right? I'd like to share with you, none of those are the leading causes of divorce. There's only one reason why divorce happens. The leading cause of divorce is something called fighting. Fighting. Yeah, but Rabbi, come on, it's about the children, the money, the in-laws. It's not true at all. You see, it's never the issues. It's how the couple deals with the issue that determines the success or failure of their marriage. You see, my friends, it's the climate of the relationship. If that relationship is one of love and friendship, my way, your way, we find a way. But if there isn't that love, that bond, that connection, that friendship between them, very shortly they fight, they quibble, and it doesn't take much to burn down the house. And I'll show you what I mean. 70% of successful marriages have at least one irreconcilable difference. An irreconcilable difference means a difference that can't be reconciled. For instance, he has a business in Manhattan. She has severe allergies and needs to live in San Diego. Chicago doesn't cut it for either of them. He wants to bring the kids up in a Hasidic way. She wants a more of a yeshivish Litvish way. You can't send the kids to yeshiva with long curly payas on one side. Right? An irreconcilable difference, there's no reconciliation. There's no possible way. 70% of successful marriages have at least one, if not more, irreconcilable difference. Yet they're still successful. Why? Because somehow we work it out. If there's a bond of love, if there's a connection, if we're in this together, we're friends in this, we find a way to find a pshara, we find a way to work things out. I'd like to share with you what I mean. John Gutman is a marriage researcher. He can tell with 94% accuracy whether a couple will be divorced within 5 years. And he explains his method. He brings them into the lab. He puts monitors on both of them. He measures everything, their respiration, their heart rate, and he videotapes it. And he asks them to discuss 3 topics. One topic he calls a neutral topic. The other he calls kind of a mutually pleasing topic. And the third topic is something that he calls a flashpoint, something that they typically argue about. And he's explaining, what he explains is he watches for one single thing. He plays the videotape afterwards, and he's looking for one reaction that's called contempt. Now, contempt is not anger, it's not frustration, it's a sort of rolling of the eyes. He says if he sees one sign of contempt without 5 positive signs connected that one, that couple is headed for deep, deep trouble. You see, my friends, Hollywood got it 100% right. Except Hollywood got it backwards. You see, in the world of Hollywood, boy meets girl, she looked into his eyes, and they fall madly, passionately in love. They fall into love, they fall out of love. They fall into love, you get married. Fall out of love, you get unmarried. It's the mystery of life. You see, my friends, Hollywood got it right. The essence of a successful marriage is love. Love is the glue of the marriage. But you see, the mistake that Hollywood makes is love doesn't just happen, love is built. And if you'd like to know the answer to this Rashi, I'll share with you that's exactly the answer. Why did Malachim ask a question that was rude? The answer was Avram and Sarah had the near perfect marriage, 99.9%. But the Malachim felt it could be even more. You gave us food, you gave us beverage, they wanted to give back. We wanted to increase the love because that's the essence of the successful marriage. And if you want to know why Hashem changed, had Avram Avinu heard Sarah said that he's too old, it would have caused maybe a tiny, tiny scratch, maybe imperceptible. And Hashem says it's worthy for me to change the truth. It's worthy for me to lie. Why? Because even the slightest scratch in a near-perfect relationship is a terrible issue. And my friends, there are 2 yesodos, 2 foundational principles that we learn from this. Number 1, love is the glue of marriage. And number 2, Shalom Bayit is holy. So holy that Hashem himself, Kaviyach, would change, would, excuse my expression, say a lie to protect Shalom Bayit. Okay, good. I get the phone call, and it's only too often that I get the same kind of phone call, and it sounds something like this. Rabbi, I have a problem. Oh, what's the problem? It's my husband. Oh, what's the problem? Well, he's responsible, he's a good guy, he learns with the kids, he has a good job, he takes care of the bills, I said, so far sounds pretty good, what's the problem? The problem is I don't love him. I don't love him. How long you married? 10 years. How many kids? 5 kids. So folks, what do you do? What do you do when you get the call and the woman says she's married 10 years, she has 5 kids, and she doesn't love her husband? What do you do? So I'll tell you what I do. I do what I typically do. I ask her the following question. I say, madam, tell me this. Last week, how many times did you and your husband go out? Well, go out doesn't mean like to a bar mitzvah or at the wedding. How many times did you and your husband go out to connect, to bond? We didn't. Okay, how about last month? How many times did you and your husband go out just to spend time together, just to be together? We didn't. The month before that, we didn't. Month before that. By about 8 or 9, I stop and I say, don't you understand? You guys are like 2 ships in the night. And if you're not going to work on the bond, if you're not going to work on the connection, guess what? You're going to be distant, and very, very quickly, you guys are going to fight about everything and anything, and before you know it, you're going to be incredibly, incredibly apart. My friends, this is the number one of the 10 really dumb mistakes, forgetting that love is the glue of a marriage. But you see, this is the point. Love requires work. It requires going out. It requires spending time together, but not just going out. Mini vacations, love notes, gifts, text during the day, everything that a couple in love needs to be doing. And now I become very unpopular. Why do I become very unpopular? Because I turn to the men and I point out something very important. Gentlemen, are you ready? It is a husband's role to romance his wife. Let me say it again. It is a husband's role to romance his wife. That means you guys plan the date. Your responsibility. Your wife will take care of the child care, take care of the babysitter. You're responsible. How many guys have I heard say, I told her if she wants to go out, just plan the date. You blew it. You blew it. Why? Because there's one key message that a woman has to hear, that her husband loves her, that her husband cherishes her. If a woman hears that, she'll be happy. And if she doesn't hear that, at the core of her essence, she's going to be miserable. And gentlemen, you know what that means? You're going to be miserable, because a happy wife is a happy life. An unhappy wife, don't go there. Okay, now this is the number one single biggest mistake that very smart people make. They stop working on the love, they stop working on the connection, and they wonder, why is it that we're so distant? Why is it that we're so apart? And if you don't work on the bond, you don't work on the connection, guess what? You're going to be distant, you're going to be apart. And I'd like to share with you an Igeris. Listen to these words. The Stipler Gaon, that's what Chaim Kanevsky's father, the Stipler, wrote these words. The main hope of a woman in her world is to have a husband who loves her. When she sees that this isn't so, it crushes her spirit and can be close to Pikuach Nefesh. Gentlemen, do you hear this? And this is so easy to solve. All you got to do is plan the date. All you got to do is the love notes, the gifts, all the things a couple in love have to be. But gentlemen, it's your job to plan the dates. It's your job to romance your wife. Ladies, we're going to get to, the ladies got things they do wrong also. We'll get there pretty soon. This is not a guy bashing session over here. But this one, the first one, is up to you guys. Now, I get the pushback. Rabbi, come on, go out once a week. Well, my husband started a new job and it's so expensive. Who can afford it? Who has the time? I have an answer because I've heard that pushback. By the way, once a week. 1 second. How often should a couple be going out? Once a week. Not once a month, not once a Yovel, not once a Shemitah, once a week. And once a week. Rabbi, you're crazy. Once a week, who has time for that? Okay, you're right. It's very expensive and very time consuming. Here's a quick question. How expensive is it to hire a divorce lawyer and the alimony expenses? You don't have time? How about running 2 households and trying to figure out which kids thing, which night, or which place? It is the best single investment you're going to make in your Shalom Bayit, in your children, in your family. But here's the single biggest chiddush. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to tell you that children are the biggest bracha that you can imagine. But I'd also like to share with you something very, very frightening. The single biggest competitor for the success of your marriage is your children. Why? Because children require a lot of attention, a lot of resources, and if you don't learn to set boundaries, if you don't learn to say, this is our night out. I've heard so many times, women especially, how can I go, my Rocky will never do her homework, and Moshe will never do his chumash work. I guarantee, if Rocky doesn't know her math equations perfectly, and Moshe doesn't know the chumash, she'll be okay. But you see, you guys are 10 feet tall. To your kids, you're the center of gravity. If the marriage itself starts to come apart, it's almost like gravity ceases to work. Everything starts to be unhinged. The single best investment you can make in your children's success is the Shalom Bayit in your house. If you want to bring up children to be wholesome and healthy, the single biggest, best investment you can make is make sure you have a good marriage. But folks, this is the point. There are no shortcuts. You really have to do it. Now, it's going to sound crazy, but on a regular basis, when I say these shocking words that you should go out once a week, the pushback I get is incredible. It's like, hey, whoever does that, who can have a dream? And then they come to me with the problems, the issues, she's this, he's that, she's that. So let me make it clear. All you got to do, it's so easy. It's I once did a marriage workshop. These were 50 couples who had really a lot of trouble. They were married 10 years or longer and had a lot of trouble. And I gave them an assignment the first week to go out, spend the time together. How many went out? 2 out of the 50. I gave them an assignment the second week. So you guys got to spend time together. Nothing. I invented a term. It's called relationship anorexia. You know what anorexia is? It's an inexplicable, a young woman especially, and she stops eating. She doesn't want to eat. She starves herself to death. It's very difficult to understand, but it's a serious issue. I believe many people have relationship anorexia. I don't want to go out. I don't want to spend time. Okay, you're going to pay the price. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first of the 10 really dumb mistakes, and it's so easy to cure, but gentlemen, this one's on you. Okay, let's go on. Let's go on to mistake number 2. Here we go. To understand mistake number 2, imagine we have a couple. The woman's over here, the young man's over here. They're walking down the street. As they walk, he trips, and she says, "Oy vey, are you okay? Are you all right?" That's case number 1. Case number 2, same couple, walking down the street. He trips, and her reaction is, "Klutz, what's wrong with you? Can't even walk down the street, right?" What's the difference between case number 1 and case number 2? Anyone? Case number 1 is their chassan and kala. Case number 2, they're married already for 3 years. And my friends, this is the second of the 10 really dumb mistakes that very smart couples make, forgetting that respect comes first. You see, it's love and respect. If I love my spouse, but I don't treat her with respect, it's going to be very, very difficult for her to love me, and very difficult for her to act as a friend to me, and therefore you have to work on the respect. But respect means really working on respect on a regular basis. I hear couples say things to each other that makes my hair stand on end. Rocky, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Moshe, that's dumb. Utterly dumb. How can you say something so dumb? Wait, do you guys like each other? Let alone love each other? But Rabbi, you want us to be formal? We can't be formal. I don't want you to be formal, but you have to speak respectfully. By the way, one of the best tools for Shalom Bayit is the telephone. This is an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. The phone rings. Oh, hi. How are you? Oh, sure. Right. Absolutely. 100. Okay, thanks for calling. Now, if you think I'm making this stuff up, John Gottman, the marriage therapist, the marriage researcher, he did another study. When he brings his couples into the lab, and besides asking them to interact one with the other, at a certain point he asks the woman to leave and brings in another woman, a strange woman who the husband never met, and he asks them to discuss a few topics. Then he brings the wife back in, asks the husband to leave, and brings in a strange man that the woman never met, and here's what he's looking for. How do we react to our spouse versus the way we react to strangers? And here's what he finds. If you're married 2 years, 20 years, or even longer, we are far more polite to strangers than we are to our own spouse. But even worse, we argue far less with strangers than we do with our own spouse. And if we do argue with a stranger, we'll be much, much quickly to accept their opinion than we would our own spouse. And this is mistake number 2, not working on the respect in the marriage. I mean, you have to work on love. You have to work on everything that a couple in love need to be doing, but you also have to work on the respect. And by the way, I'm a big advocate for breaking the phone, but this little device has one app on it that is very, very good to use. It's called the tape recorder. Put it on one day at supper when your kids aren't around and listen to you and your spouse converse with each other. But listen for your part of the equation. And listen to see if you're polite, if you're respectful, if you're nice. And I've seen this on a regular basis. People who are good people find needles in their own homes for some reason. They feel it's okay to let their hair down. It's okay to let your hair down, but not if it means being rude, not if it means not being nice. Number 1, working on the love. Number 2, working on the respect. Okay, let's go on to mistake number 3. I believe that there are 3 pillars to a successful marriage. The first pillar is commitment. Commitment means knowing that this is the right one for me. Even though it doesn't look so right now, even though it may take some work, but knowing that this is the one that's perfect for me. Commitment comes from a single concept, and that is knowing that Hashem doesn't make mistakes. Hashem arranged the perfect one for me, and because of that, I'm committed to this union, committed to making it work. That's the first pillar of a successful marriage. The second pillar is love. Love we discussed, that's the relationship, that's the bond, the connection, the friendship, love, etc. But here's the problem. Many couples are very, very committed. And they even love each other, but they can't learn to live together. And this is the third pillar of a successful marriage, learning to live together. It's commitment, love, and learning to live together. And learning to live together is not so simple. Let me share with you an example. Elizabeth Newton earned a PhD in psychology from Stanford University for a very creative experiment. This was a PhD thesis. She had an experiment. She made groups called the tappers and the listeners. She brought in a few hundred people. Half of the group she made tappers and half of the group listeners. The tapper's job it was to tap out a song. She took a list of popular songs, Star Spangled Banner, Happy Birthday. The tapper's job was to tap out the beat of the song, and the listener's job was to guess the song. Okay, now, if you think about it, you quickly realize that it's pretty hard to tell what the beat is to what song. Here's what you found. Only 2.5% of the time did the actual listeners guess it. And you can see the videotapes. The tapper will be tapping and the listener doesn't get it. Only 2.5% of the time did the listener ever get it. But this is the interesting part. She asked the tappers, what do you think the odds are that the listener is going to guess the song? Person after person. Hundreds of people said at least 50-50. At least 50%. But you understand what she earned a PhD for? It was the theory behind it. You see, when I tap out a song, I can't help but play the song in my mind. When I play it in my mind, it's so obvious. It's so, how could you not get it? What are you, daft? How can? Because it's playing in my mind. When I hear the song in my head, I can't relate to the fact that you don't hear it, you don't know it. And folks, this is the third of the 10 really dumb mistakes that very smart couples make, assuming that my experience defines reality. Assuming that if I know something, obviously you know it. If I feel a certain way, obviously you feel a certain way. This is my experience, obviously this is reality. And I'll share with you 2 examples of this. One, a small, minor example. The other one is a big deal example. To this day, one of the interesting things in my life is Shabbos morning, I typically get up very early, the house is quiet, I learn, it's Machaya, A few hours later, I bring my wife a coffee in bed. She likes having coffee. And to this day, I go through the following experience. As I'm preparing the coffee, I reach for the creamer. And I have to stop. Because my wife doesn't like her coffee with creamer. She likes it with skim milk. But I know it doesn't taste good. It tastes horrible with skim milk. At least 4% fat, at least something. And to this day, I reach for the creamer and I stop and I have to pour the skim milk begrudgingly. Why? Because I understand that skim milk in coffee doesn't taste good. But here's the problem. That's not the way my wife experiences it. And understanding that the way I experience things is the way I experience it, but it doesn't mean my spouse experiences it the same way, is one of the keys to growth in any relationship, but especially in marriage. Understanding that I feel one way doesn't make it reality. This is a small example, a coffee cup. Let me share with you a much bigger example. Here we go. A young man gets married and he's learning Kola. It's 6:30 at night, he comes home, he's about to put his key in the apartment door, and he says to himself, Baruch Hashem, I married such a sober, grounded woman, not one of these flighty dames, Baruch Hashem. Puts his key in the door, opens the door, walks in and sees his wife up on the chair. What is it? What? There! What? What? A cockroach! A cockroach! Kill it! Do something! What? A cockroach! Do something! Okay. He says to himself, grounded, huh? Okay. Anyway, doesn't think much about it, but listen, that's what life is all about. So hey, 2 weeks later, he gets a call. He's in the Beis Medrash. He's learning. He's a masmid. He doesn't even take a phone into the Beis Medrash. A friend of his brings a phone and says, your wife's on the phone. You better take the call. What's up? Come home, please. What's the matter, dear? Please come home. Whoa. There are two of them. Come on, please. What? She wants me to leave the Beis Medrash, stop learning, to kill two stupid bugs. Steam coming out of his ears. He gets in his car, drives home. They're about to put his key in. Open the door. There she is on the chair. Where are they? There. I hope you're satisfied. Turns back, heads right back to his car. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the question. Who was right? Who was right? Was she right after all she was terrified? Was he right after already coming home to kill two stupid bugs? Who was right? Who was right is an excellent question to ask in a court of law, maybe a divorce court. But who was right is a terrible question to ask in a marriage. A far better question to ask would be, what was she experiencing? What was going on? Now, I don't know why this is, but I happen to have 4 daughters and 2 sons. Why, I can't explain this phenomenon, but the girls were afraid of bugs since they were born and the boys weren't. In fact, when there was a bug in one of the girls' room, they'd call that baby brother by. They just had to make sure he didn't eat the bug. But okay, I don't know why it is, but the boys were not afraid of bugs, girls were. Okay, here's the point. The problem is what he didn't relate to was the fact that she was experiencing something very real at that moment. When she was up on that chair, what was she experiencing? Something called terror. Now the problem is, in his world, bugs are not scary. In his world, it's a stupid bug, step on it and stop it. But he judged her based on his experience. If he wanted to be a little bit more fair, we'd change the case a little bit. Let's imagine it wasn't her alone. Imagine it was him alone home in the apartment. And imagine it wasn't 2 cockroaches. Imagine it was 2 German shepherds. Would he be up on the chair? He'd be down the fire escape, down the block. Why? Because German shepherds are scary. Bugs aren't. But that's your experience. But your experience doesn't define reality. And understanding that my experience doesn't define reality is a key to any human relationship, but especially in marriage. And this is one of the biggest of the 10 really dumb mistakes that very smart couples make, forgetting that my spouse experiences things differently, understanding that my spouse has a different emotional world. And when he says he's really bothered by this, don't just dismiss it. When she says she really, really bothers. By the way, my wife, we have a great marriage. I love my wife. We're married 36 years now, coming up on 37. And to this day, she still asks me the following: please close the closet doors. What's the big deal? It's ajar a little bit. Because it bothers her. And I'm sorry. Why does it bother you? It's just a closet door. It's not a mess in the house. But it does. And understanding that it bothers her and she's legitimately troubled by it. And it's not a mishigas, it's not a craziness, that's who she is. And learning that requires an awful lot. And again, this is 36 years into the game, and I'm still learning it. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? What are the two most important words in your marriage? Most important. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Are good words. I'm sorry. They're good words. Two most important words in your marriage.
Yes, dear.
You're right. You're right. But those important words.
You're wrong.
Two most important. What?
You're wrong.
Who is wrong?
I'm wrong.
Those are the most difficult words to say. I know I was wrong. She knows I was wrong. I know she knows it, but I can't say the word. Okay. Very hard to say, but they're not the two most important words. I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, dear, I was wrong. Please, I'm sorry. Thank you. Good. Nope. I love you, by the way, it's 3 words. I did the math. I'm a mathematician. Okay. Every scientific experiment was preceded by an expression. Most people think before the scientist made the big discovery, he said the words, Eureka, I've discovered it. Actually, it's not true. Almost every scientific discovery was preceded by the words, that's strange. A fellow took chemical X and chemical Y expecting Z and got A. That's strange. He researches and discovers penicillin. Research discovers a new type of rubber. Almost every scientific discovery was preceded by the words, that's strange. And then the person stepped back, looked with scientific curiosity, and understood what was going on. My friends, these words, that's strange, are the most important words you could say in a marriage. Why? Because if you step back and actually try to understand your spouse with scientific curiosity, to try to dig in and understand, why does it get so bent out of shape when I do X, Y, and Z? Why does it bother her so much when I said this? If you step back and say the words, that's strange, you actually can look into the inner world, understand them, and you might understand your spouse. But, a very important caveat, you say the words to yourself. You do not say them to your spouse, that's strange. You say to yourself, that's strange. Why did she get so upset? All I did was, and then you climb into her inner world, and you begin to understand it really matters to her. When your husband gets all bent out of shape for no reason whatsoever, he's just being a guy. Well, guess what? You're right. He's being a guy, but it really bothers him. And if you're able to actually dig in and learn the inner world of your spouse, you'll have a much easier time being successful in marriage. And this is the third of the 10 really dumb mistakes, assuming that my experience defines reality and not learning to understand the inner world of my spouse. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Okay, here we go. Ladies, this question is for you. Ladies, what is the single most important ingredient in a successful marriage? I'm sorry? Communication? Communication, trust? Anyone? Okay, now, it's interesting. I've asked this question to thousands of couples, and I've gotten the answer from women: communication. Interesting enough, Ted Houston is a psychologist at the University of Texas. He studied 264 couples in depth, and he asked them this question: what is the most important issue in a satisfactory relationship? And here's what he found. Almost all the women said communication. Almost none of the men said that same line. As a matter of fact, the most common claim you hear marriage therapists say, what they hear from women is, we never talk. And almost all marriage therapists say, what they hear from men is, all we do is talk. Now, somebody's got it right, somebody's got it wrong. What's going on? Would you like to know the answer to this sociological phenomena? I'll share with you the answer. Go to a kiddush. Go to a kiddush Shabbos morning and listen to the men talk and listen to the women talk. Okay, let's go to the women's side on the feet. I'm not blocking it. Okay. And I go to the women's side, and this is what it sounds like. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ooh. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh. Great talking to you. Okay. Now let's go over to the men's side. Men's side conversation sounds like this. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Hey, great talking to you, guy. Okay. Why is it that women make all those noises, the oohs, the ahs, the oh, you need a lexicon to just understand what they're saying. What are those noises about?
Validation.
Okay, Deborah Tannen is a professor of linguistics at Georgetown University. She wrote a number of very important books. And here's what she says. She says, if you listen to why women talk, and you listen to why men talk, you'll understand what the listening noises are about. Why do women talk? Women talk to create a relationship, to bring you into their world, to bring themselves into your world, to connect. That's So what do women talk about? They talk about people, occurrences, what happened, what she said, what he said, ooh, oh. Okay, why do men talk? Men talk to communicate. Communicate maybe ideas, concepts, ways of doing things, maybe talking, learning. So what do men talk about? They talk about politics, sports, business, money. Okay, so gentlemen, are you ready? Anyone here want to be happy? Okay, we have 3 people want to be happy. Okay, good. Okay, 4 people want to be happy. This is a serious question, gentlemen. Who would like to be happy?
Yeah.
5 people, 6 people. Not bad. We're getting 7. No, you don't want to be happy? Is your wife here?
He said you go straight to Gan Eden if you're not happy.
Oh, but you live in Gehenna here. And it ain't worth it, believe me. And by the way, I got bad news for you. You know, women especially say, my husband's going to Gehenna. I got bad news for you. You go together as a couple. Yep. You spend this world together and the next world too. So let's hope your husband's not going to Gehenna. Let's hope he's okay. So do you want to be happy? Yes. Happy wife is a happy life. So you got to learn the big yesod. You have to learn how to talk to your wife. You have to learn how to listen to your wife. You have to learn to communicate. But gentlemen, this is the point. We communicate all the time amongst guys. But the way we communicate amongst guys is very different than women talk. And it's very, very kedai to pay attention to the way your wife talks to her sisters, to her girlfriend. I know a woman who tells the same story to 5 different women every night. Every night. Every night she goes this one and that one, 5 different people. And she does the same things over, like, okay, I don't know why, but okay. Anyway, so let me tell you rule number 1. I'm going to give you some tips for talking. Tip number 1 is listen. Listen means listen. The average person listens for 17 seconds before interrupting. 17 seconds is not a long time. Now, what you have to do is you have to listen, but listen to understand, listen to relate, listen to feel what is she going through, what is she experiencing, and then you have to learn to share. So tip number 1 is learn to listen. Tip number 2, this one I learned the hard way. I was a Rebbe in Rochester, New York, high school Rebbe for about 13 years. Anyway, I felt a big part of the Rebbe's job was obviously teaching the fellow how to learn, but more important, I felt teaching guys about life. Guys would come over to me with life questions, issues that I had a very good relationship with them. And years later, 20 years later, guys would come over and go, Shafier, the advice you gave me back in high school, I use it today, thank you so much. Okay, so I thought I did a decent job of reading the situation and giving advice, and guy after guy would be very satisfied, very happy, and I thought I had a decent handle on this. And then an odd thing would happen. When I'd go home, my wife was never happy with my advice. It was like, the minute I crossed the threshold, my IQ dropped 40 points. It was like, it made no sense. And I made the great discovery after 10 years of marriage. You know why she didn't like my advice? She wasn't asking for advice. She was asking to share, to communicate, to bring me into her world, to let me know what she was feeling. So here is the big yesod, gentlemen. If you don't know this already, don't fix her problem. Just listen. Just listen. Just listen. Just share. Communicate. Try to hear. Try to empathize with her. Empathy. Empathize. What does it mean? Empathize. Empathy. Validate. Validate. Anybody invalid over here? What do you validate? What do you invalid? What do you validate? Validate. Oh yeah. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? No? Yeah. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to learn because I talk all the time. In the male world, we'd speak one way, and learning to communicate with your wife means learning how to listen, learning how to speak, and learning how to share. So how to listen so your wife talks and how to talk so your wife listens. So you do things like, how was your day? By the way, I got married when I was 24 years of age. From 0 to 24. You know how many people ask me, how was my day? 0. Not a single person asked me. We got married, my wife says, how was your day? I don't know why. What happened? Somebody died? How was my day? I don't know. What do you mean, how was my day? It's okay, whatever. Like, what, is something supposed to be occur? Like, how's the day? You mean nothing happened? No, nothing happened. Nothing? No. I mean, we learned Shiva, whatever. Like, I don't know. What do you mean? What? Nothing? You don't talk to me. No, it wasn't that. But okay. Yeah. How was your day is a bid for communication, for connection. She wants, by the way, this is not a joke. After 20 years of marriage, I realized that I owed my mother, Allah Shalom, blessed memory, an apology. I went to yeshiva, and on a regular basis, I'd call my mother, and my mother would ask me that question that every yeshiva bacha fears. The question is, what's new? What's new? I don't know, I learned the new Tosas, we learned the Mashal, we learned the Ksos. What's new? Nothing's new. What do you mean, what's new? And for 20 years, I didn't get it. You know what she was asking? Her son left home. She wanted to connect. She wanted to be in my world. She wanted to be a part of my life. And she was asking me, what's... Okay, you know what I'm saying? Okay, happy wife, happy life. Learn to communicate, not to talk. Okay, that's it. And now it's time to get even. Gentlemen, I bashed you twice here tonight, right? Are we going to do something on this side of the Mechitza? Yeah, we're gonna.
The next 7 mistakes.
What?
The next 7 mistakes.
Next 7 mistakes. Well, someone's counted. Someone's counting. We're up to 4 already. Okay, mistake number 4 is this mistake. Forgetting it took me something different to women. Let's move over to mistake number 5. Okay, here we go. Now, ladies, I'm sorry to say this, but I think you guys are much more guilty of this mistake. It's much more on this side of the Mechitza, but here we go. It is my firm belief that every young woman, as she walks down the chuppah, has a 10-point home improvement policy in place, and it's that guy under the chuppah who is going to be the recipient of that 10-point home improvement policy. First of all, the tie's got to go, and the sloppiness, and the coming late, and the dumb jokes. Now, she's got it all planned out. Now, we'll give her credit. During the Sheva Bracha, she behaves herself, she doesn't say a word. But after they settle in, about 10 days into the marriage, she starts on her home improvement policy. Moshe, your your desk is a mess. Okay? No, I mean, you'd be much more efficient if you were neater. Yeah, okay. And he doesn't get like all warm and fuzzy, even though she's only doing it because she loves him. So it's clear that he doesn't get it. Moshe, I mean, it's a big mess, and you'd be much more efficient, you'd get much more done if it was neater. And he doesn't get all, wow, it's so nice and feels so loved. So obviously he doesn't get it. So she uses a sense of humor. Much, I mean, you're messy, it's so messy. How do you even find yourself in that mess? And he doesn't laugh. And for the life of her, she can't figure out what the problem is. So ladies, let me make it clear. If you would like to improve your husband, make your husband better, change your husband, you're making a fundamental error that will cost you tremendously. Let me share with you what I mean. I get the phone call. The phone call is only too typical. It sounds something like this. Rabbi Shafier, you gotta help me. Okay, what's up? What's up? It's my husband. What's the problem? He's 40 years old. Okay, good. And he leaves his socks on the floor. So what's the problem? I yelled at him. I yelled. He still leaves his socks on the floor. What's wrong with the guy? I said, madam, tell me something. Have you ever mentioned this to him before? Yeah, about 10,000 times. So why doesn't he pick up the socks? That's my question. What's wrong with the guy? I say, okay, man, let me ask you a very, very important question. Is he a nice guy? Yeah. Is he responsible? Yeah. So why doesn't he pick up the socks? This is exactly my question. What's wrong with the guy? I said, madam, don't you understand? We all have strengths and we all have deficits. Your husband is a put-together guy with many strengths, many talents, many abilities, and he also has chesronos, he also has shortcomings. And if you're going to recognize that he has shortcomings, and you're going to accept that, you'll be happily married. But if you're going to try to change him, you're not going to be happy at all. And I told her a story. Not long before that phone call, I've been speaking at a SHALOM BAYIT seminar, and a fellow comes over and says, Rabbi, you got to help me. I'm a doctor, I work in the ER, and I'm around these thin, young, pretty nurses all day long, and I'm trying not to look. But my wife, she had her first kid, she put on some weight. She didn't lose that weight. She had her second kid, she put on some more weight. She had a third kid, she put on some, she's 40 pounds overweight, and I don't know what to do. I offered her a nutritionist, I offered her an exercise plan, I offered a guy to come to the house, and she just won't lose the weight. Rabbi, what am I going to do to get her to finally lose the weight? I said, young man, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever met a woman who wakes up one day, looks in the mirror and says, oh, 40 pounds overweight, just what I always wanted to be. That's great, that's, right? Why doesn't she just use a nutritionist, use the exercise plan? I said, I'll explain to you why. Right now, for whatever reason, there's just a little bit too much on her plate. 3 kids might be a big part of it, but you have to recognize one reality. She is who she is, and she's not going to change. You either embrace her as she is, or you suffer. She's not going to lose the weight. You either embrace her as she is, or you suffer. I said to this woman with the socks, you have a choice to make. You either accept your husband as he is, or you suffer. Should your husband work on being neater? Absolutely. But at the same time, you have to recognize we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, And guess what? That's his weakness. Okay, now, folks, this became like a mantra. I told the story so many times that a little while back I was in Chicago and I was speaking and a woman raised her hand and says, Rabbi Shafier, do you remember you were here 2 years ago? I said, I do. She said, do you remember what you spoke about? I said, I don't. She said, well, you told the socks on the floor story and it changed my marriage. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, in my case, it wasn't socks on the floor, but it was jackets on chairs. Sunday night, my husband would wear a suit. He'd take that jacket off and leave it on the dining room chair. Monday night, he'd be wearing a different suit, put that jacket on the chair. Tuesday night, another jacket on the chair. By Thursday night, his wardrobe was around the dining table. I said, what used to happen? He used to scream, he used to yell. I said, well, what happened? Well, you told the socks on the floor story. So now, Sunday night, he brings his jacket, leaves it on a chair. I take it upstairs. Monday night, he takes another jacket, I take it upstairs. I said, how's your Shalom Bayit now? She said, it's wonderful. I asked the women in that class to stand up and clap. Why? Because she got it. But why doesn't he just pick up his stuff? What? We all should be better. We all should improve. I just need a little bit of water. Oh, I have a little water here. Look at that. So, if you are ready to change your spouse, I have a little exercise. The single most important self-growth exercise you'll ever experience. Ladies, are you ready? Are you ready? This takes courage. You got to say yes or no? Yes? Yes, ready? Okay, here we go. If you would like to improve yourself, improve your relationship, improve you as a human being, I have an exercise I want you to go home tonight. When no one's around, I want you to look in the mirror, I want you to point, and I want you to say these words. I am a difficult person to live with. I am a difficult person to live with. I am a difficult person to live with. You mean I'm obnoxious? I'm a difficult person? No, listen, we all got stuff. I'm either too late or too early or too on time or too whatever. We all have idiosyncrasies, quirks. That's just the reality. So why do I need to change him so much? Because his problem could be so solvable. I once had a woman, these ladies will forgive me for saying this. I once had a woman who was ragging on her husband. He's this and he's that and he's this and that. It didn't take me long to realize this woman was like a real work of art over here. Okay, so, and at a certain point I said, madam, I hear you have a lot of complaints about your husband. I recognize a lot of shortcomings, but tell me, could it be that there are some things that you do that maybe bother him as well? She thinks for a minute and says, yeah, probably. But listen, me, I have to live with him. I could change. Oh, brilliant. I love it. I love it. So ladies, let me make it clear. Don't change your husband. It doesn't work. Don't change your husband. It doesn't work. Now, why am I beating up the ladies? Men do it also. You know why I'm beating up the ladies? For one reason. If I stand up in front of a group of men and for 45 minutes say, don't do it, it never works. Don't do it, it never works. Don't do it, it never works. Eventually they say, I get it. And they stop doing it. Never once have I succeeded with women. Never once. Never once. But if I love them, how can I not? How you think I don't love him? I guarantee he'll know that you love him, even if you don't change him, even if you don't make him better. So let me make it very clear. Ladies, don't do it. Okay, now, how do I know there's such a problem? I was once giving a Shalom Bayit. By the way, the shmooze is not just Shalom Bayit. I just, of late, I went into this little kick because I wrote this book, so I had to go on a book tour. But the shmooze deals with all issues of life. Emunah, bitachon, davening. Okay, anyway, bottom line is, I'm speaking in Brooklyn. We did a 5-part Shalom Bayit seminar. It was each month in Shams for 5 weeks. And because it was a very large audience, the way we worked it was after, when I was done speaking, someone brought around cards, and people would write questions on the cards. And they'd bring the cards up for me to read. Okay, so in any case, I sent the cards came up, and the cards really first came the women's group. Okay, let me try to get these slides up here. Watch this. Okay, oh, we just did that. I'm a difficult person to live with. Remember that one. Okay, watch this. Anyway, so the cards come up. This was the session where I did the socks on the floor. Don't change your husband. Don't do it. It never works. It ruins relationships. Just get people angry. Okay, the very first question I get, it reads like this, and it's from a woman. It says, what if I try to change him by being nice? I said, no, don't do it. It wrecks the relationship. It just gets him angry. It never works anyway because you're trying to change his nature. You're trying to change something that's the essence of him. It's not going to work. All it's going to do is get him angry, get upset, and it's not going to be. Okay, so next question I get, the card says, what if I try to change him by having a sense of humor? I said, no, don't do it. It never works. It gets him angry, gets him upset. It's not going to change anyway. It's his nature. It's his temperament. That's the way he's born. That's the way he's created. You're not going to succeed. Don't do it. The next question is, I'm not making this stuff up. Next question is, what if I try positive reinforcement? No, don't do it. It doesn't work. The next question is Billy Guzman, not a joke. The next question read like this. What if I try to use consequences? Oh, that's very good. Like, Moshe, you're not getting lunch tomorrow unless you pick your socks up. That'll get you real far, lady. Okay. Now, I thought I made my point very, very clear. You can see the videotape of this. It's a videotape. I thought I made it incredibly clear that nobody could not get it. However, I made a mistake. This was in Brooklyn. I live in Muncie. It's an hour and a half drive. When I got back in Muncie, I made the mistake of opening my emails. And the very first email that I read goes something like this. Rabbi, if I don't try to change by being nice, a sense of humor, positive reinforcement, or consequences, how am I going to change them? Okay, very good. The next email, I read, this is like a comedy routine. The next email reads something like this. Rabbi Shafier, after all the time you spent on this topic, isn't it clear we understand what you mean, but we disagree? Oh, and she's going to do everything she can to change him, whether it kills him, her, and the marriage, which it will. And so, ladies, make it clear, it doesn't work. But you know why it doesn't work? Because you're trying to change his essence, his nature. And if you need to change him, look in the mirror and say, I'm not difficult. He's got the. Oh, yeah? I bet you. I bet you if we ask your husband or a team of jury of your peers, okay, anyway, this is the point. You either embrace your spouse as they are, or you try to change them. By the way, what does it feel like to be loved? Right? What does it feel like to be loved? So I have a bunch of words I use. What does it feel like to be loved? Respected, accepted, approved, cherished, right? What does it feel like to be changed? Not respected, not accepted, not approved, not cherished. So here's the point. I'm going to make it very clear because I don't know if I made it clear yet. Changing your spouse means your will against their will. Why doesn't he change already? He's 40 years old. Why does he change? Changing is really bullying. Okay, so don't do it. Okay, so I made it clear, right? Okay. No?
I disagree with you, Rabbi. I'm sorry.
I know. I see, but you know why? Because if I loved him, how could I let him be that way? How could I let him continue? It's so important.
I'm sorry, but I feel like change is important. And
Yes.
Everybody should.
Everybody should change. And I want you.
And we have to start with ourselves.
Right. I want you to change you. I want you to work on all of your issues, and I want you to stand in the mirror and say, these are my issues. 1, 2, 3, 7, 10, 24. Work on them, perfect them, and when you're done, then we could continue. But why? You know why? Because it's very easy. I'm going to be, no, this is not nice. Rabbi, you're not being nice. Rabbi, you're being too straightforward. Be polite. I know. What I'm saying is like this. Listen. And the reason why it's so easy to look at him and change him is because why doesn't he just look? I'll give you an example. I have a guy who said to me like this: I can't respect her. She's not into health food. She doesn't work out with the kids. She's not into. I just can't respect her. I explained to him that he had a very real problem. He was one of the most disciplined people I ever met in my life. He wakes up 5 o'clock every morning, jumps into a freezing cold shower just to master himself, then works out for 45 minutes, plans his day, then goes to daven. He's one of the most structured, disciplined people I ever met. And his complaint about his wife is she's just not so disciplined, not so structured. I said that's very unfair. Why? Because your strength is a great strength. It's a great talent. But you can't expect your spouse to have that same talent. If you have talent, strength, ability, that's great. You should continue to flourish with them, use them to the best ability. The reason why it's very easy, by the way, invariably, what is the one thing that you have to change in your spouse? It's always, I guarantee, it's always going to be your strength and your spouse's weakness. Let's say I'm very, very neat. It's going to be invariable. I can't help but notice that my wife would be much, much better if she was neat. If I'm very punctual, I can't help but notice that she's late. That's the problem. It's always my strength and my spouse's weakness that I notice. And by the way, we become experts at what a spouse does wrong. We can't help but notice it, we can't help but see it, and we can't help but point it out. And guess what? It doesn't work. But you know why it doesn't work? Why doesn't it work?
Because it's your strength.
Because that's his nature, it's his temperament. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a little moment of honesty over here. Again, I'm Baruch Hashem, very happily married. I love my wife. She's not here to debate it. Okay, but Baruch Hashem, we have a great marriage. Okay, however, I am a natural-born slob. I am. I'm just unkempt. I'm all over the place. Now, it's interesting because I'm very disciplined, but for whatever reason, that's my temper, that's my nature. Now, how easy do you think it is for my wife? Not easy at all. By the way, every one of these 10 dumb mistakes, I could not write a book like this without trying every one of these mistakes and make sure that they worked. I tried every one of them and made sure that every one of them is bona fide as a really dumb mistake. And one of the really dumb mistakes I made was assuming my wife has to put up with my sloppiness. Now, it is true that I worked on myself, and it's been now 36 years, and I do try to be neater, and I do try, but she still has to put up with me. So here's that sort of balance. Do I have to work on it? Absolutely. But there's a certain reality. It's not my strength. It's not my strong suit. And she has to learn to embrace that. In other words, meaning I can't just be cavalier. I can't be callous. I can't just say, I don't care. I have to work on it. But at the same time, she has to recognize that it's not my strength. And by the way, as great as my wife is, there are things that she could use work on. Do I mention them to her? But why not? I should help her. If I loved her, I'd want to point it out. Yeah, right. Try that one at home. Right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? No? Still disagree? All right, we'll talk after. No, we won't talk after, because I know. It's only out of love and concern. One second. I was talking in Bet Gavriel. It was a large group, and it was, Torah Anytime was doing it, a live stream. And a guy brings me his text afterwards. He was talking to his wife. He was texting back and forth. His wife was watching it. And the wife sends him a message like this. Well, my Rebbetzin said that if you see your husband doing something wrong and you don't point it out, you're not doing your job as an Eishes Chayil, and you have to point it out. So I said, first of all, I doubt the Rebbetzin ever said that. If she did, maybe her husband's towing, divorce lawyer, I don't know. I doubt she ever said that. Because that is the worst advice you could ever give to any human being. Why? Because we human beings don't like being criticized, we don't like being bossed around, we don't like being changed. And, okay, I made my point, right?
Yes.
I'm what's called spitting in the wind. That's what this is called, you know? I know, it's like talking to deaf wall. Okay, anyway, let's do a recap. The first point you guys agree with, I think, right? Number one, the first of the 10 really dumb mistakes is not working on the love, the bond, the connection. That's the essence of the marriage. And you got to go out, you have to spend time together. But it's not just going out, it's a text, it's a love note, it's gifts, all the things that a couple... Is your wife text? Your wife is here. She's texting you now? She's on that side. Oh no. Oh, I don't want. Don't show it to me. Do not show it to me. My rabbits told me. By the way, Ashes. What? Ezer Connecto.
He's in his first year.
First year?
Shalom Bayit for the...
Shalom Bayit. Ezer Connecto. Ezer Connecto. What does Ezer Connecto mean? Help me, right? I've searched and I've researched every Rishon, every Achron. Not once did I see a single payer say means police lady, boss, bully, beat upper, corrector. Not once. Ezer Kenegdo means helpmate. All right, anyway, enough. Number one, work on the love and marriage. That's the first really dumb mistake. Number two, working on respect, because there has to be love and respect. Number three is understanding that my experience doesn't define reality. The way I experience things is the way I experience things. It doesn't mean my spouse experiences things the same way. And learning to say the words, that's strange, to myself. And then climbing into the inner world of my spouse allows me to understand. And mistake number four is not understanding that talk means something different to women than it does to men. Gentlemen, this one's on you. You got to talk to your wife. You got to take her out. You got to spend time with her. But ladies, I beg you, please, please, please don't change him. Just accept him. Embrace him as he is, or suffer. Embrace him as he is, or suffer. By the way, I have a theory. It's a 20-year theory. And many marriages, if not most marriages, have this first 20 years of kind of then suddenly they take off and they're much better. Why is it? For 20 years she tries to change him. Finally, he's a stubborn ox, he's never going to change. And suddenly he's a nicer guy. And suddenly they get along so much better. So don't do it. But gentlemen, don't do it either. Don't change her. Ladies, don't change husband. Don't do it. Okay, good. Now, one last little punchline over here. Oh, yeah, bully. Don't bully. Don't bully. Don't do that. Okay. I'm going to go through really quick. I just want to leave one point. If I could skip these slides, it'd be better. Wow, look at this whole review. We did this review. Here we go. Oh, wait, wrong way. Stop that. Go in. Okay, here we go. Gentlemen, I'm going to make it as simple as pie. If you treat her like a queen, she will treat you like a king. If you treat her like a servant, she will treat you like a slave. Got that? Ladies, I want to make it very, very clear. Ladies, very, very clear. Treat him like a king. He'll treat you like a queen. Treat him like a slave. I ain't going there. You know what I'm saying? But that's the point. Work on yourself. Work on your, by the way, I have a 30-day challenge. If your marriage is good and you want to make it great, if your marriage is and you want to make it good, or if your marriage certainly is bad, I have a 30-day challenge. I guarantee it's going to change your marriage dramatically. 2 parts to it. Number 1, make sure that you're spending time together. You're going out, gentlemen, it's more your responsibility to plan the date, but as a couple, you got to spend time, you got to be together. Number 2, find one of the 10 really dumb mistakes that you do and work on it. Stop doing it. Don't look at what your husband does wrong. Don't look at what your wife does wrong. Look at the issues. We only went through 5. You take the book, there are 5 more. Go through one, find one, and for 30 days work on not doing that dumb mistake. If you work on the relationship and stop the dumb mistake, I guarantee your marriage improves dramatically. It's tremendous, tremendous change. Okay, let me close with one last thought. And the last thought is, I'm going to share with you a story, probably the most romantic story I know of. My Rebbe, the Yeshivas Zatzal, Rabbi Leibowitz, I went to Chazaq Yeshivas. He was about 7 years older than the Rebbitzin, and he was ill, especially towards the later years. And everyone understood what was going to happen. The Yeshiva was going to pass away and leave the Rebbitzin as an almana, as a widow. Anyway, that's not what happened. The Rebbitzin took ill and very quickly passed away, and the Yeshiva got up to say a hesped, a eulogy, at his wife's funeral. Now we were the Yeshiva had no children. The Bnei Yeshiva were in the house all the time. We saw a marriage, the respect that the Rebbitzin had for the Yeshiva's respect for the Rebbitzin. It was unparalleled. It was an incredible, incredible thing to watch. By the way, I never once heard the Rebbitzin call the Yeshiva anything other than the Rosh Yeshiva. She spoke to him, at least when we were around. I mean, the respect was uncanny. Anyway, Yeshiva gets up and he says as follows. Everything we did together. We built the yeshiva together. Went to Eretz Yisrael together. Everything we did together. I didn't have to worry about my food. I didn't have to worry about my medicine. Everything we did together. She was more concerned about my health than I was. She was more concerned about me than I. Everything we did together. He must have said that expression 12, maybe 14 times. And then he said these words. I said a hesped. I said a eulogy for my father. I said a hesped over my mother. I cannot say a hesped for my wife. Saying a hesped over my wife is like saying a hesped about myself. I can't do it. He sat down. And with those words, he defined a Torah relationship. One unit, bonded, connected. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of self-improvement. Not improving your spouse, but self-improvement. You work on it, you do that, Hashem helps, and eventually you get there. That's the goal. Rabbi Benzion, I want to thank you again. It's a pleasure to be here, a pleasure to see you in this role. Take advantage of him. He is a tremendous, tremendous person. Please take a copy of the book. And one more thing also. If you are anyone here under 30, yeah, you're under 30, okay, good. Oh, here we go. I made an interesting discovery. People under 30 are illiterate. No, it's true. No, it's not a question. I had guys come over to me, Rabbi Shiva, it's a great book, I love it. What page are you up to? Page 30. How long have you had it? 3 months. I had a guy say to me, I'm up to page 12. Now wait a minute, this table of contents, this introduction, it starts on page 10. He's up to page 12. Okay, so I made the discovery, if you're 30 years or younger, you are illiterate. So therefore what I did was, I came out with something called the video book. Basically I did battle. In other words, I came out with the video book. The video book is exactly that. It's a video book. It's really is.
He read your book actually.
We each have idiosyncrasies, habits, and our own particular way of doing things. Making room for another person whose ways are different than yours, and recognizing that those ways are still legitimate.
Let me go to the different one. Yeah. Oh, here we
Welcome
go.
to what I hope will be an engaging journey of
Watch the
learning
first
about
one. You're gonna love
yourself,
this one.
your spouse, and relationships. Along the way, we're going to meet some very smart couples doing some very dumb things, and hopefully we'll learn how to avoid the 10 really dumb mistakes that very smart couples make.
Watch this first one. I love this first one. Watch this.
This is the tale of Sheena and Benzi Cohen. Sheena and Benzi are your all-American couple, both bright, talented, and successful. Both brought up in good homes, both confident and goal-oriented, and both a bit surprised with what marriage has brought them. Here's Sheena's version. Dating Benzi was exhilarating. He was full of energy, always moving. He gave me a sense of excitement and adventure. But after 3 years of marriage, his ADHD is driving me crazy. He's always late, he never puts things away, And he's constantly forgetting things. He forget the baby at the store if I didn't remind him. Why can't he just get it together? Benzion has his own take. When we were going out, I felt like her knight in shining armor. She would get nervous and I would step in to smooth things over. If something happened between her and one of her friends, I would calm her down. I felt noble and gallant, rescuing the damsel in distress. But now I feel like her anxiety is over the top. Every Erev Shabbos is high drama, and she's the queen. Why can't she just calm down? She and Benzi spend the next 20 years trying to change each other, but neither of them are successful.
All right, you get the point. It's anyway. How much? How much? Okay, they're on. So if you buy them here, they're $25. You buy them online, they're $49. I have a few copies here, and you could PayPal, Zelle, or Venmo. But either way, please take a book if you're literate and you could read. Take a book, but if not, no. Either way, the video book is a lot of fun. I have 7-year-old grand. I have
It
three.
has the whole thing there? All 10
It has all 10 mistakes. It's the content of the book, basic essence of it. It's not as detailed as the book, but it's pretty good. But it's very entertaining. Bring it for your kids. I have 3. My daughter has twins, and my other daughter has a 7-year-old. So they're all 3 the same age. They sit. No, they're not married. No. Anyway, no. Watch this. So all 3 of them are on the couch, watching, listening to different parts. I have a videotape. Each one has one open. Oh, you gotta watch this one. Zadie's and this one. This one's good. You gotta watch. They give their parents marriage advice. Very clever. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you, Rabbi Benzion Shafier. Much success. Thank you. If anyone's interested, please come over. You can get a copy here.
We'd like to sponsor a bunch of those.
So Rabotai, thank you so much, Rabbi Shafier, for coming all the way from Muncie in the weather and really dispensing this very, very helpful and experienced advice. Tishkulu mitzvot.